Hey,
whoa, we're on.
Live. We're on.
Whoa, hello. We've got quite a Ninja Turtle themed, or hero. What do you say? Do you say Ninja Turtle or Hero Turtle?
Well, I mean, when did heroes become ninjas? I mean, these guys are heroic.
It was the other.
I know.
As a lot of people know, it was originally the
but
comic.
Our American fans might not know about the Hero Turtles.
Yeah, well, basically what it was you had the original comic, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was aimed at adults, an adult part of the underground press.
Well, indeed, yes. That's
and but then they discovered they could merchandise it to kids, and there was a cartoon series, and the BBC felt that adults might take offence to their kids watching a show about ninjas, so the show was changed to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Well, I mean, there was another reason for that. Because obviously in America it was all called Ninja Turtles. The rest of the world it was called Ninja Turtles, but the cartoon in the UK was changed to Hero Turtles.
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, UK had very sort of, especially in the 80s, they had very strict censorship laws about how you could market things, especially when it came to video and TV programs and films and etc. And one of the big no-nos at the time was anything to do with nunchakus and ninjas and you know, so you'd have things like Enter the Dragon, and the famous scene where Bruce Lee was playing with his nunchakus was completely cut out of the film. And of course, so this then translated to Ninja Turtles, and it's like, nope, get rid of ninja.
But I remember when I was in school, there was a big obsession with ninjas, and there was a sort of like a martial arts store down the road, and we would buy the shurikens and so we would throw them at each other and stuff. And suddenly on the wall there's this star stuck out. And
I had shurikens, and I had a dartboard for shurikens.
Yes.
Could I ever get a single shuriken to actually stick into the dartboard? No, they were crap. They were completely useless. They looked much better on the series Shogun, where they worked perfectly.
I always thought it was best when they used one in Escape from New York. That was a pretty cool moment. But anyway, welcome to those video guys. As you can see, we've got our Twitter details just there. There you go. Sean Harry. You can follow me on Twitter. You can also follow Ellie Cab. Sounds like a New York cab company.
It does, yes. No, indeed. And
yeah, here we are. We're
all over social media.
We're all over. We are the masters of internet social media.
Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. And
we've got a website, Google Plus, YouTube, Twitter, Ustream, the whole lot. Absolute whole lot.
So this week, Ninja Turtles. We're talking Ninja Turtles.
A lot to do with the Ninja Turtles.
We've got a superhero web series to discuss.
We've got vampires.
Vampires.
How many web shows are there about vampires? I mean,
well, this is an interesting one because it's slightly different from our usual one. It's a documentary.
A bit different. But it seems to me if you're going to do a YouTube series, you either do one about unemployed actors or vampires. That's always the theme seems to be.
So let's kick off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, in the same week that Michael Bay does a press release, which we'll come to in a bit, a YouTube channel, youtube.com, OCJuice22 have released a animation for the nostalgic Ninja Turtle fans out there who remember the 80s cartoon but want to see it a bit more upgraded in a 3D way, i.e. take your action figures and do stop motion.
So let's have a clip.
It's a pretty good recreation of the opening credits, actually.
Yes.
Did you have those toys?
I never had the toys.
No.
At that point when the cartoon series started and the toys came out, I was a little too old for toys at that point. I was actually a little too old for cartoons.
Yeah.
But I did make an exception for them because I had read the original comic book. which, to be honest, was very difficult to get hold of in this country.
It was,
and
actually,
some of the early issues were going for ridiculous prices.
Yes, and that was very true. Actually, there was only a certain amount of comic book stores that would actually have any. But yes,
it was really when they reprinted it all as graphic novels that you could, finally catch up and.
Yes, indeed.
So originally in the comic, they all had red bandanas and and it was only for the cartoon series that they said that for the toy marketing, the kids had to differentiate between each one. So that was when they got an individual colour scheme.
Well, there you go, yes.
And the creators turned around and said if they had thought about that more, they would have actually had them as, like different, one as a terrapin or one, actually different types of
different types
turtles.
of animals, indeed, absolutely. So this animator is quite clever. It actually it's not just the animation of the...
It's all the background animation.
Well, there's background, there's a bit of background,
cool
a bit of story.
It.
You actually see the animators in the video.
Yeah.
There is a making of as well for those interested. It's a lovely nostalgic animation. I would certainly give that one 3 martinis. I enjoyed it a lot.
A lot of fun.
Check it out.
Especially if you're a fan of the original, but some cool animation there.
We've got iPad for reading Twitter messages.
Yes.
So if you're watching, please do tweet in, because we would like to know your opinion. If you're...
Did you see that the latest, the new John Carter movie was dedicated to Steve Jobs?
No.
I just thought that because you had an iPad there.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, the biggest flop in history.
I was also thinking that how he would have felt having a film dedicated to him, which ended up losing 200 million at the box office. Have you seen it yet?
No, I'll just wait for it to come on Sky or something. On
Okay.
TV. I don't think I need to pay to go and see this movie, do we? Did you see it?
I haven't yet, no.
You
I
plan
to.
Do you?
Actually,
yes. Really?
I read the books as a kid. I read the Marvel comic as a kid. I was always a fan of John Carter.
Well, John Carter... Okay, that's an interesting one. Because why would you actually spend so much money on really quite a very, very niche franchise?
Well, any franchise is a niche franchise until you've established it. The way they've had spent...
This one never got established. I mean, you've got... it is from the same creator as Tarzan.
Well, that's where I really don't understand is... I can totally understand spending the money on this film, but I don't understand is the marketing. The marketing was just John Carter, and it just said nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
What they really shouldn't have even been saying John Carter, they just have said from the mind of the person who brought you Tarzan and the makers of Toy Story.
Yeah.
And instantaneously everybody wants to see it. But instead, they kind of seem to shy away from everything that would have made this a film people would want to see.
Well, indeed, and even dropping the word Mars from a title when actually the poster, the trailer, it's all science fiction. So why pretend it's not a science fiction?
But apparently, every film with the term Mars in the title has been a huge flop.
How many films have the word Mars in the title?
Mars Needs Mums, which was before John Carter of Mars. I'm going to say John Carpenter. John Carter of Mars was the biggest financial flop of all time. Mission to Mars. What was that? You had that one with Val Kilmer. There's been quite a few films with Mars in the title which have been flops. Ishtar on Mars.
Ishtar on Mars. Yes, Heaven's Gate on Mars.
Yeah.
The Martian Heaven Gate. Well, who knows? It's it does look like it could be quite a fun film, but you don't need to go and see it in the cinema probably, because it's just
have a need. I'll be going to see it next week.
It's not
if it's still in the cinema.
It's just doesn't just do it. It's a B movie. Why would you spend so much money on a B movie?
Talking of films, talking money on a B movie, talking of films, then that leads us straight on to films like Transformers, and the forthcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Going back to Ninja Turtles, yes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie
from Michael Bay,
or the new movie,
yes,
the reboot movie,
and there has been
the
a lot
rebooted, completely new origin movie.
There's a new origin. Apparently, they're no longer mutant.
Teenage Alien Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Alien Hero Turtles. It's...
Okay, so now we have to, in the grand tradition of Howard the Duck, we now have to believe that turtles evolved on Earth as well as on another planet.
Howard the Duck actually they didn't change it for the film. That was how it was in the comic.
No,
they changed everything else.
Yeah. Howard the Duck is. Well, I'm just thinking the grand tradition.
Well, actually, in the film, I think he came from a different planet, whereas in the comic it was a different dimension. It was a parallel Earth.
Parallel Earth, right?
But yes, and I it's one of those changes you kind of like. What?
What's the point?
But in fact, it actually complicates it even. I mean, I always got the impression they would change something because they go, like the squid in The Watchmen. They go, this is too complicated for audiences, or it's too silly for audiences to understand. So we've got to get rid of the squad and the Watchmen, or Galactus can't be a giant man dressed up in purple. He has to be a cloud. Otherwise, audiences will go, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But this is taking something which is a bit silly and just making it insane.
Mm-hmm.
Only Michael Bay does that.
It just seems actually quite a pointless change. It does, completely. And I suppose then what happens to the rat? Is the rat also an alien?
I don't know.
Is it just a planet of ninja animals?
Yeah. What happens to Splinter? It's a bit silly, that.
I mean...
And you know that April O'Neil is just going to be played not by an actress, but the latest hot model, who will at some point get into a bikini and wash a car. She'll wash the turtle shells for no apparent reason in slow Michael Bay motion.
Do you think Michael Bay is just losing it? I mean, not that he...
I think he lost it yet, and I actually think Michael...
But do you think fans will now start reacting? Because now... Transformers, okay, it's one thing, they're just robots, but Ninja Turtles, I think there's more love for the Ninja Turtles.
No, well, I'll actually say with Michael Bay, he's a type of director which I would say what his work is for mature audiences with immature minds.
Yeah.
So when you got a film like Bad Boys or something like that, and you got Tia Leone in her underwear, and you got heroes who are swearing and whatever, and you've got a lot of racist stereotypes which are in there for a laugh. When you got this 18 certificate movie and it's a bit kind of like juvenile and masculine, you kind of accept it. But when you take a kids franchise like Transformers and you've got Megan Fox's arse sticking all over the place and things like that, and you've got robots sounded like Stephen Fetchit characters from some racist movie in the 30s.
But also you've got photography and editing where you just don't know what the hell's going on. It's just like, sorry, what? I've just missed a whole chunk of film here because everything's just like bang, 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 bang.
And I've also noticed with Michael Bay, his way of creating tension in a scene is to just have people shout at each other. For some people run in and they never discuss anything. They're just shouting at each other, and I really don't like him as a filmmaker. I don't like his work, and I don't think he should be making kids films either, because he's not, his sensibilities to all women and racial stereotypes are not what you want to see in a family movie.
There you go, folks. That's those video guys' word on Michael Bay and his Ninja Turtle movie.
Yeah.
Moving on to a comedy sketch show.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, this is.
Comedy sketch show from the very popular YouTube channel called Barely Political. You may know them for Key of Awesome, their music video spoofs, which we've reviewed before. This is a series called Super Therapy, and this is each week features a different superhero, and the clip we have for you features Aquaman.
So Aquaman, gone on any dates recently?
One, and it didn't go well.
You all say that, but I would think that the superhero thing would help you with the lady.
Yeah, maybe if you're one of the cool superheroes. I try to impress him with my powers, and it always ends badly.
Come with me to Atlantis, an underwater world of wonders.
Hey, Aquaman! What's shaking, brother?
Hey, Benjamin. Hey, Flippy.
You got a new girlfriend? Well, she's real pretty.
That's a lot of fun. I found this very
Actually,
funny.
out of the whole series, the Aquaman episode is my favourite one. It's done brilliantly. So the idea is it's called Super Therapy because every week it's a different superhero who goes and visits his therapist to talk about their superhero issues that they've got.
I can never take Aquaman seriously because of that show Entourage.
Oh,
where they're referring to him as Aquafag.
Aquaman. So you've got Superman's in there, Wonder Woman, who happens to be dating a hick at the time, and she may be a Wonder Woman as a superhero, but as a girlfriend, she's suddenly not very Wonder. No. Batman goes to therapy because he suspects Robin might be gay. Professor X and Magneto have issues, and they both have to visit the therapist to work out what those issues are. I think that it's Magneto getting kind of pissed off of the old friend kind of routine. What was your favourite?
I'm going to say the Batman one, although it is a bit of a stereotype, poor old Robin.
Yeah, poor old Robin, yes. Is Robin gay?
Depends on which Robin. There's been so many of them.
And I recommend it. If you like superheroes, like to just have a bit of fun.
Even if you don't like superheroes, you can still get what
you should
the
be able to
about.
get the joke. Yeah, Spider-Man is in there as well. It's Joker and Harley Quinn have an episode as well. Storm has obviously emotional issues, which is connected to the weather. It's funny. It's silly. It's one of those. Hey, you got a friend who likes X-Men. Tweet them the episode to do with the X-Men.
But as I said, even if you're not a fan of this stuff, humour is humour. It's kind of universal.
Yeah.
So some quick short episodes. They're very funny. So I think if you're a superhero fan, if you're a fan of Marvel Comics or DC, just enhances it. It makes it even more funny. But if you're not, I still think you'll still be in on the joke.
It does actually remind me of a conversation we had before when we reviewed, I think, Cosplayers.
Yes.
What the cosplay web series is actually, there is a lot you could do with just cosplay.
Yes, although I've got to say these cosplayers, they're not particularly great.
No, these are the ones you just buy at the joke shop for Halloween. Yeah, but but still, it just says, hey, look, if you've got a costume, you might as well just put it to good use.
Did you see on the weekend Felicia Day tweeted from a convention?
No.
That she met naked Batman, and it turned out to be a guy with a body painted on Batman costume.
Right. Oh, yes. Interesting.
Though he was thankfully
he did
have
out?
His utility knicker. No, it wasn't like Adrian Curry at Comic Con this year. She went as Aeon Flux and got thrown out the convention.
Now, I don't understand. Why are conventions sort of funny about female costumes? Considering actually what the nature of comics
very much depends.
Is.
Very much depends on that costume, and also a lot could depend on where you are holding the convention. You may have the hotel manager saying, "Get them out of here." I had a Game of Thrones convention on the weekend, and we did have one girl in a very see-through body stocking.
What, a naked Daenerys?
With 3 dragons on her.
Fantastic.
She didn't win the fancy dress, though. In fact, it said the fancy dress was won by a Daenerys eating a horse's heart.
Right.
With her brother with a molten crown on his head.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah.
So Super Therapy, go and check it out. youtube.com/barelypolitical. I'm sure you know that channel. It's a very popular one. Moving on. Now, this is one of those sort of funny clips you get.
Yes.
But we think it'll be...
But it's also got a geek, one of those things, but it has got geek credentials.
It's got
with
geek
Magic
credentials.
the Gathering. Is Magic the Gathering still as big as it used? Because at one point it was huge.
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, they still bring out the book.
I know.
Cards,
about 10 years ago, it was pulling in about 100 million a year. So I don't know what it's doing now, but it's still... And the makers of Magic the Gathering, of course, they bought TSR over, and Dungeons and Dragons and everything. There was a point when card gaming really came back into vogue in the whole fantasy.
But what I don't understand is why no one's really translated it to an iPhone app game.
There's a PlayStation game of it. There's like about 5 PlayStation games.
But it would seem logical.
Yeah.
Because it's something you can just play your round quickly.
Yes.
On a bus or something.
And here's the thing: they could even have it that you buy your Magic the Gathering cards, and they've got a barcode on the bag, and you scan that in on your iPhone.
Right.
And then suddenly you've got... So that way they're still having you buy the cards and everything, but then you can play it with your friends on your iPhone.
So this video clip for this week is called Magic the Gathering Freakout.
You don't have to scoop. You're not actually dead. 1 through 4 will read 5 to 6.
3.
I'll get this card back.
God damn it.
It's a Grasp of Phantom.
It doesn't matter. What do you want to do? Balance my human?
I really don't know what your deck's capable of is the problem, though.
God damn it. I'm losing my patience. God, you...
Devil's plea.
Fuck! You're kidding!
Judge.
Now this is a bit like that girl with the Xbox, and you watch it and you say to yourself, is this real or was this all staged? It's funny, but how real do you think it is?
I think he's playing up.
Yeah.
I think he's playing
up.
up.
No matter how pissed stuff he got, no Magic the Gathering fans would allow his cards to be mixed up with somebody else's.
Well, this is what I was about to mention. I mean, who's going to sort out these cards now?
I mean, some of those cards, literally, if you know anything about the game, they have rare and ultra rare and super rare cards. And some of these dealers are selling like
non-existent cards.
Yeah, for hundreds of pounds. Or dollars, or whatever.
Oh, yes.
Or
but it is very funny, whether it's a setup or not.
It's funny, but I don't believe it happened.
Yeah.
But it is funny.
It's this high-pitched voice that this Francis has.
Yeah.
But
and the guy he looks like comic book guy.
He looks like comic book guy, indeed. Yeah, okay, maybe 2 martinis on that. Watch it just
it's
for
one of those
comedy
fun ones,
value.
One of those fun ones. It gives you a laugh, and you maybe tweet it to your friends, but that's about it, really.
Moving on to web series.
Web series, more vampires.
Vampires
again.
The show. Vampires, New Orleans.
Now, what this is kind of like doing is making it as a documentary type series. So it's not like, watching a drama, but it's like watching a real life kind of. But it's obviously, what do you call them, mockumentaries?
Well, let's discuss this, actually, after we've shown the trailer.
Every legend is based in fact. Every myth has a start. Hollywood makes it look pretty, or Hollywood makes it look ugly, but Hollywood very rarely makes it real. 13-year-old girls are gonna swoon over this. Oh, I know, let's make them glitter. We have a daughter coming, Angelina Luna.
She's happy.
Voodoo in New Orleans ties in with a lot of communities, not just the vampire community. After Katrina, I seem to be the only vampire around.
Ever since Hurricane Katrina, the founding members of Nova has been coming out here providing food.
I just had this really high expectation of what a filmmaker should be. Someone who's involved in the community.
Basically, the community breaks up into houses, clans, or covens.
Have I done blood drinking in the past? Yes.
There's something in the blood that we need.
I'm going to show you start to finish what it's like for me to feed. You ready?
Ready when you're ready.
There we go. This is Vampires. It's started in February 2012. There's now 5 episodes up by the time we've actually.
Do you know how many they're going to be doing?
I don't know exactly. No, I don't think it's that much more. Maybe one or two more.
Do you think there'll be another series, or this will be a self-contained?
Well,
one?
this one's called Vampires New Orleans.
So
I think
the
idea, because in the first episode they kind of established that each city kind of has its own traditions.
Yeah. They could do Vampires New York or Vampires
London,
Pittsburgh, Vampires Slough, Vampires Coventry,
Vampires Scranton.
Yes.
So yes, mockumentary or documentary, because actually,
documentary means it's real, and mockumentary means it's a made-up scripted documentary.
Okay, because in the publicity, this is a documentary.
Yeah.
And what they're actually discussing in this documentary is people who believe they're vampires, not necessarily people who are vampires. I don't think it's quite clear if it is mockumentary, if they're trying to spoof the idea. There's no jokes in it. There's not intentionally funny. It is meant to be a documentary. There are subcultures of people who do believe in.
I remember when I first started running Buffy and Angel conventions, and I got involved with some of the vampire groups. My vampire groups, basically goth groups, who would dress up as vampires. It was very interesting. There were these goths who wanted, base themselves very much. They were all into Lestat.
Yeah.
Of And this was before you had Twilight and True Blood, so I don't know how they take to those kind of franchises. But Buffy was just starting. They were all into Interview with a Vampire and Rise to the Stack kind of thing. And all the goths, even though they used to go to Whitby Goth Weekend and stuff like that, which of course Whitby, because of Dracula, they wanted nothing to do with the people who wanted to be vampires. You had these two separate sets of goths, and these vampire goths wanted to rename themselves as Dark Romantics.
Dark Romantics.
Don't know whatever happened, whether there was a civil war between goths and
well, I mean, this series is interesting because yes, there are those subcultures. They do exist. They're out there. There are groups who like to worship the sort of whole vampire mythology.
Yeah.
And in the series, you kind of learn about different groups. There's ones who just sort of call themselves vampire because they feed off your energy. There's ones that believe that they can have to feed off sexual energy and they have to have sex.
That's actually a term for that, is succubus.
And then there's ones who actually will do blood drinking.
Yes.
In that they'll actually have to cut someone and then lick the blood. And if you're doing a documentary about vampires, blood drinking is obviously probably the most important topic to handle, because that's what people are going to want to watch, a documentary about people who believe themselves to be vampires. That particular episode shoved into episode 3, which I think should have probably been moved into episode 2, because the episode 2 they do have is literally just a goth who believes that dancing in the nightclub, he feeds off this energy that makes him into a vampire.
It's better than sparkling.
Not quite convinced of that.
It's better than sparkling.
Not quite convinced of that.
I remember when somebody first told me that. They said, "Oh yeah, the vampires in Twilight, they sparkle." I was like.
And then episode 4, you've got this really interesting guy who is kind of a bit of a special effects guy. He actually designs customized teeth for everyone who actually want that.
I've known people who've actually had their teeth filed out.
Yeah.
But so they can, go to there's dentists who will do that for you, who will redo your teeth to give you vampire teeth.
Yeah. So I mean,
they'll even give you grooves in the back of your teeth, so you bite somebody that you can suck the blood up through.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that. That would be that would seem a bit weird. In this particular one, they just used an incision with a sterilised knife,
and that's not weird.
Well, it's done under particular clinical surgical conditions.
And just because of that, it's not weird.
It's weird, but hey, at least they're consenting adults doing what makes them happy. But I do think that actually, as you said before, when you said there is an assumption that what you're going to watch is actually a mockumentary, and I'm not quite sure it's necessarily clear.
I think they needed to get that out a bit stronger, because when I watched it, I really couldn't work out whether it was a made-up scripted thing, or
because the characters are quite outlandish.
Yes,
and so you're kind of assuming they're kind of made-up characters.
What they perhaps should have done is you only had to have something at the beginning just to say this isn't fake. This is, if that's the case, this isn't real. This is real. These are genuine people that we are interviewing.
And actually, I thought one interview that was missing from this series is possibly like a psychologist discussing.
You'd expect something like that, or even somebody also an expert on vampire lore.
Yeah.
So you could have like a psychologist to discuss what these people are going through, and then somebody who's an expert on. Who's that guy who appears everywhere, who's got a big handlebar moustache, and every time they're discussing something to do with vampires or myths or whatever, he's on every Doctor Who documentary. He's always being dredged up on BBC, and he dresses like he's out of
that's Kim Newman. The horror film.
Yeah, where's Kim Newman? He should be on this, going on about in Bram Stoker's time.
So and it's an interesting one. If you're into vampires, if you're into subcultures, goth, tattoos, that kind of stuff, it kind of does go into that kind of world.
I'd give it 2 stars.
Yeah, me too. So vampirestheshow.com. Very easy to remember, vampirestheshow.com.
And talking about continued shows
on
the internet, and one show that you gave 3 stars, and a show that's starring a very good friend of mine, Alessandro Torresani.
Indeed.
Called Husbands. Produced by and written and directed by Jane Espenson. They've got a Kickstarter project on at the moment.
For their second series?
For a second series. It's a great little show.
The first series we did rate as one of the top web series of 2011.
Yeah. Well, you've got one of the top television writers of America working on it. But it's a fun show.
Yep.
Very fun show. And you can, right now, you can help support it, pledge some money, and you get some great things in return. You know, DVDs from it, it's got some caps from Battlestar Galactica. You get your name in the credits, a lot of other paraphernalia. So, you know, it might be worth doing.
Indeed. Yeah, no, definitely. Just look on Kickstarter for Husbands, or just actually if you go to twitter.com /GoCheeksGo, which is Cheeks, who's one of the creators of the show, along with Jane Espenson. You can get all the information about how you can be part of their second series.
And interestingly enough, when I was at DragonCon last August and I was hanging out with Felicia Day, a lot of people were asking her, is there going to be a 6th season of the Guild? And Felicia was saying to people, I don't know. She said, I've left it on a cliffhanger, I've left it open-ended, but it all depends on whether Microsoft, she said, picks it up for another season, because as somebody might be aware of the Guild, it's sponsored by Microsoft and they get first dibs to show it on Xbox Live. And I actually said to Felicia, if Microsoft don't pick it up, you could surely get the budget out of the Kickstarter project. And how much do you think if the Guild went for a Kickstarter, how much do you think that would raise?
Well, they've got an extremely loyal worldwide fan base, so I'm sure they'll do quite well. It is interesting though. I mean, I actually, the 5th series still hasn't come out on UK version of iTunes.
That's surprising.
Which is it's quite surprising.
Yes. However, if you come to Invasion, the convention I'm running in May, I'm sure Felicia Day will have a few copies on DVD for you to purchase.
So yes, and we'll hopefully get an interview for a future edition of those video guys. Cool, guys. Well, that wraps it up. We can have maybe just fit in one more quick review.
Oh, the Blood. I haven't actually watched it.
You haven't watched it?
I haven't watched it yet. It is interesting though. None of the original people from Battlestar Galactica, and we're talking about the Blood and Chrome trailer.
Just released.
It's a new
today.
spin-off series. It's what they call in America a backdoor pilot, in which they do a TV movie, which is sold as a TV movie, but really it's supposed to be to lead into a series. And this is called Blood and Chrome, and it's supposed to be about the first Cylon War, a spin-off from Battlestar Galactica, a prequel set between Caprica and Battlestar Galactica, about a young Commander Adama during the Cylon War.
Well, it's actually set 10 years into that first Cylon War. And this is when Adama
is of
age now, which he looks, in the trailer, he looks very young. And if you think about how young he was in Caprica.
Well, no, in Caprica, he's born in the last episode of Caprica.
Right. So,
because the real...
But he looks about 20.
Yes.
He looks
the trick in Caprica, to give away one of the plot lines, is the kid in it who is called Adama, the young kid you think is going to be Adama, he gets killed in the final episode.
Right.
And then his father's next son he names after his son who died, so that is going to become...
So he looks about... So the character of Adama looks to be about 18, 19, 20.
Yes.
In the Blood and Chrome trailer. So this
used to be on Shameless.
So it would suggest then that actually from Caprica, the Cylon War starts only about between 8-10 years after Caprica.
That makes sense from where it's going, but it is worth noting none of the original team of production, behind the scenes team from either Battlestar Galactica or Caprica are involved in this. No Ron Moore or David Icke or any of that lot. It's a whole new team on it. So how it's going to come out will be interesting.
Well, and what's really interesting about this trailer is that, yes, it looks fantastic, but that's what it is. It just looks fantastic because all it is just explosions, ships,
they
shooting.
Felt
There's nothing to do with the story.
They feel that's why Caprica flopped. Because Caprica was all story and character and no explosions and things going boom.
But Battlestar Galactica, the series, was both of those.
Yes.
And sometimes it was just drama. And that's what made it so unique amongst science fiction. And
Did you ever watch Babylon 5?
No, I couldn't stand it.
Oh, well, I always felt Battlestar Galactica the new one had more in tone with Babylon 5 than it did the original Battlestar Galactica.
I lost it on the first episode of Babylon 5.
Oh, it's brilliant. So that was...
I can actually identify the scene that made me decide I did not want to watch it ever again. And I bet you could guess what scene it was.
No, I don't. Which scene was it?
It was the, hi aliens, come and look at all these different religions that we have. Aren't we all sweet and lovely? And
that I think was supposed to be a response to Star Trek, where they keep on going, oh, we have evolved beyond religion, but you Bajorans are so much spiritual and better than us. I still see Babylon 5 as the first modern television show.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Check out the Blood and Chrome, but I'm sure we're going to be getting another trailer soon because I don't think this one shows enough.
They haven't even put air date for it
It's
yet,
just explosions and special effects.
Yeah.
And you get nothing about what the story is. In fact, it looks like so much explosion and special effects. You're kind of wondering, is there going to be any story in this at all?
I bet there isn't. I bet it is all Viper pilot action.
But that about wraps it up.
It's Battlestar Galactica as if directed by Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. Someone's been drinking Bay in a can over at Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay, well that's it. In 10 minutes' time, we will be back, though. That's how long we're going to leave you for. Me and Elisar have just got a toilet break for ourselves. Then we'll be back with Talking Who.
Talking Who, indeed. Yes, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned to Those Video Guys Twitter account for when we're back live once more.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.